Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today on the Divine Messages podcast. On today's episode, I have another special guest with me all the way from South Florida. She reached out to me for a reading back in March, and her email was quite unique and it immediately caught my attention. I wanted to share her story of how she found me because it truly is amazing. So please, everyone, help me welcome Rachel to the podcast. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for actually wanting to be here with me today, because I think it's so important that we share these stories with everyone because spirit really can do such amazing, amazing things from the other side.
It really can.
So, in your email, you had actually said that you had typed in how to stop worrying podcast, and you said that my podcast was the only one that showed up. Is that right?
Yes, and I don't listen to podcasts. I was just having a rough couple weeks and I knew I needed to do something, out of my comfort zone. So I figured I'd listen to a podcast because I've heard a lot of people listen to podcasts. It helps them out with certain things. And that was the only one that popped up. So I started listening to it.
And that to me just blew me away because I thought, first of all, if you type in anything like that, there's probably millions of podcasts out there. And why would mine just happen to show up unless someone was trying to get a hold of you?
And
And
it was the only one. There was no others that were listed.
how is that, right? Like you got to just sit here and think, this is
Crazy.
just amazing. And in
Yeah.
your email, you had actually said, my father had passed and he was from Alberta and he actually lived in Barrie, Ontario. And that's the thing that caught me because I thought, wait a second, I really don't think I ever said Barrie, Ontario in any of the episodes. I'm pretty sure I only ever said Ontario. And I thought,
Yes.
okay, so he lived in Alberta, lived in Barrie. What are the chances of that? And then
He
I,
was born in Alberta.
oh,
Born
born
in
in
Alberta.
Alberta.
Yeah.
Wild. And then lived in Barrie.
Yep.
And then I thought, okay, I have to message her right away. So I did. And I said to
Yep.
you, I think we just started having a conversation by text. And I said, like, this is
Yes.
crazy. I didn't ever say that. And this is amazing that your dad's from both places. And I think that for sure, without a doubt, he's trying to get a hold of you.
I had asked you originally where you were from in Ontario, and you had told me you were from Kettleby, and Kettleby is super small town, population of like 5 people.
That's right.
And that's where I grew up basically, went to all my kindergarten through pretty much ninth grade there. And it's just such a small town, and I just found it crazy how that's where you were from as well.
Yeah, and I thought, who would know that little town? Really? Like it is that small. Like there's like one general store. And I thought, how
Yeah.
is this possible that you know this town? Okay, this is getting weird. And then we started talking about where I actually lived, like on Keel Street there, and how we had that farm. And I said that it backed onto the golf course. And you had said actually your mom had golfed there every week for
Thursday,
years.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Every
I
Thursday, like for as long as I could remember. And we drove by that golf course literally every single day.
And so you would have actually driven by that old farmhouse because now my parents had actually sold that property to the golf course many years ago. And the front
Yeah,
entrance to the golf course is now right beside the house that I grew up in that was
yep,
haunted. So your mom
exactly.
knows exactly what house it is, what barn I spent all my
100%.
childhood in. And I thought, okay, this is getting even crazier. You're in
I know.
Florida and here I am in Alberta and you know this house. Like it's just
Wild.
amazing. It is wild.
So crazy.
So I was so looking forward to reading for you. And I said to you right away, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel really connected to you. I said, but I want to add you on social media, but I don't want to do that until after our reading because I do not want to know anything about you. And I remember booking it. And I think it was like 3 weeks from the date that we had talked or something, right? Like it was still quite a ways
Yep,
away.
yep.
And I was so excited about this reading. And I remember even messaging you and saying, hey, this story is so wild. Do you think you'd ever want to be a guest on the podcast? And you were like, yeah,
Yep.
I would love to share that. And I'm like, okay. And so I think it was the day before your reading, I had actually gotten a phone call from my brother. And that was when I found out that my father was actually in the hospital and not doing very well. And so the next morning, I had actually booked all of, my tickets and had everything packed and ready to go back to Ontario to see him. And I remember thinking, the night before, I'm like, I don't know if I can actually read for her. I was, clearly upset and I had been crying nonstop. I was packing bags and it was just a whirlwind. And the next
Yeah.
morning, I had really been crying that entire morning. And I knew that I had to read for you because I knew this was such a special thing. And I just kept thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get through this reading? I haven't stopped crying. My eyes are all puffy. And well, that morning I woke up and again, I was just a mess. I had been crying and I was throwing things in a bag. I didn't even know what I was packing. I was just basically shoving things in
Just
a bag
packing.
and yep, getting
Yeah.
ready to go. And I was pacing the house and I thought, oh my God, how am I? I've been looking, so forward to this reading and how am I going to do this? And I'm not going to lie, I contemplated canceling so many times. And I usually would with a client. If I had to cancel for something, I would. But that day, I don't know how to explain it. I felt like I had to do it. And so I sat back in meditation and I said to your father, I really need you to help me with this. I said, I know you really want to connect with your daughter. And I feel in my heart that I have to do this, but I'm going to need you to help me get through it because I really don't know if I have the strength. And he said, I will. I knew he had my back. I felt it. And then, yes, we ended up doing the reading by Zoom and I collected myself. I don't know if you could have even told that I was crying or not all morning, but
No, not at all. Not at
I
all.
pushed everything about my life to the side and I started channeling. And your father was so incredible. And I could feel this strength coming from him and almost lifting me up. And that's something I don't know if I could have done it without his help. And he was so wonderful and so specific in our reading. First of all, he knew that you needed the help. And two, he knew that you were also very, very skeptical and that you would have a
Yes.
hard time trusting someone else. And that's why he found me all the way out here in Alberta with you in Florida. And he said,
Yep.
I'm going to find the girl that she will, without a doubt, be able to trust because it's too
It's
weird and
weird.
odd. Yeah. And so we started our
And I
reading.
wasn't looking for a reading at all. Like never was looking for a reading. I just was listening to podcasts and compelled to like reach out.
That's a good point.
Just crazy.
Yeah, because if you were, I guess, looking for a reading, there's many mediums, especially
Yeah.
where
I
you
probably
are
would have gone to someone like local.
close
Like I
by.
wouldn't have been like, okay, where can I research in the whole entire North America?
Let me choose someone in Alberta. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was him.
Very
He set it all
specific.
up and he knew what you
Yep.
needed. And I thought, how cool is this? And in our reading, he really wanted to tell you everything he could possibly throw at you so
Yep.
that there was no doubt that you wouldn't even for a second get off that Zoom call and question if that was him or not.
Yep. The whole
So
time.
there's a couple things that I asked him to remind me of tonight to help me with because again, I say all the time I delete everybody's reading, but I do remember
Yeah.
a couple things as of this evening. And he had taken me to your house and all of a sudden I was like almost like teleported to this room and I could feel this really thick plush carpet. And I remember seeing like a white crib. And I said, I don't know. I think I'm in your daughter's room. And I looked around and it was so light colored and I think pink or something. And
Yep.
you're like, yeah, you're in her room because it was
Yeah.
weirding you out a little
It's
bit.
just the most unique like carpet. Like it's not like I've posted that really or anything. Like, and it's just so specific to her nursery. And I was just like blown away when you were talking about that carpet because I'm like, oh my God, you're
You're actually
there.
there.
Like you
Yeah.
can't even make that up at all. Like you just can't.
It's pretty wild. And the other
It's
thing that I
crazy.
found really interesting, and I loved this, was I remember him saying to you, okay, there's this dress in your daughter's closet, and it's like
Yep.
light colored, like either like a light pink or I think
Yeah.
like a white or something, and it had
It was like a light pink.
light pink. And he described the neck on it so
Yep.
specifically, and you went, oh my God, I know what dress this is.
Yeah. I had actually texted it to my friend that I give her a lot of like my hand-me-downs
Yep.
because she just had a baby a couple months ago. Or so she just had her baby recently, but I've been giving her hand-me-downs for a couple months. And I'm like, look how cute this dress is. I'm going to put it in on her at Easter, because it was before the Easter time frame.
Right.
I was like, that's like the cutest outfit for Easter. And I had just brought it like into her closet because I just went through the like the set that I got because it was handed down to me. And I just like, I couldn't, because she has literally a million dresses in her closet. And
I
it's like,
bet.
how was that specific one that I specifically picked out for Easter that he like had said that she like has to wear that for Easter? Like, I just
Oh
thought that was so
yeah,
weird,
he did
because I
say
just
that.
texted my friend. Yeah, because I just texted my friend the day before saying, look what I'm going to put Bella in for Easter.
Oh,
Yeah. And I was like, oh my
okay,
gosh, I
this is
literally
so
just
weird.
texted this yesterday.
Yeah. You're like, hang on a second, I'll be right back. And you ran to her
Yeah.
room, grabbed it, and I almost like freaked out too because I was like, that's the dress I saw. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He knew what you were going to put on her for Easter. It's just
Crazy.
amazing. So he really did give a lot of validation that day. I mean, so many things that you just couldn't deny. We could go on and on and on. And the thing is, though, the reason that he actually really needed to connect with you is because you were struggling and you really truly needed help. And he was like, I have to help my daughter.
Yes. I was experiencing a lot of like paranoia and stuff, having, my baby, and just, thinking about all these different things that could happen in life. And it was like debilitating to my everyday life. I was having anxiety attacks,
Yeah.
just wasn't in a good spot like in my life. And I just knew I needed to do something about it.
Hmm.
And that's why I originally, thought of like on my morning walks, I'll listen to a podcast. Maybe it'll be like uplift me a little bit, and I won't be so worrisome, or, I won't have anxiety today, or, I'll just be a happier person if I get a pep talk every morning.
Right.
So that helped me through it. But he was so specific during my reading that he was talking about, I need to work on my breath and calm my heart rate down. And he used to tell me that, before he passed. He always used to say, like, calm down, work on your breath, 7 seconds in, 7 seconds out. And like, he
Yep.
was very all about your breath and focusing. He talked about how I had a lot of guilt built up inside of me about, him passing away and things that he could have done differently, and just like reliving pretty much his downward spiral of, him passing away. And I think about it often, but I just need to let it go. And, he's okay. He's better where he is now.
Much.
That his time on earth was finished, and he wanted to move on from that. And
Hmm.
like, it made me feel so much better, him telling me that. And, me just being able to just let everything go and not have so much guilt and so much burden,
Weighing
that
on
I
you.
felt
Hmm.
with, everything. And also he talked a lot about like, it's been really hard because I had a baby almost a year ago,
Yeah.
and it's been hard him not meeting her. And, I think about that stuff all the time. And he like, he knows her, like he's here every day. I feel like he plays with her, and just like things that he referenced that she does, and her mannerisms and stuff like that, like he's with Bella all the time. So that made me feel, so much better, that I know that he's here at the end of the day.
Oh, he spends all of his time there with you guys because
Yes.
he really tries to get your attention to let you know that he is there watching over her and he does know her probably better than he could ever, even if he was alive,
Yes.
because
I
he sees
agree.
everything.
Yep. And he's been like playing with her toys in the middle of the day when nobody's here. I actually work from home, so
Yeah.
I'm in my office, which is on the other side of my house. And in the middle of the day, leading up to more so the reading, but a couple days before my reading, at like, I think it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, I was on a meeting
Hmm.
for work, and I kept hearing one of her toys, this dog specifically, going off in her playpen. And I thought somebody was in my house. I like, got freaked out at first.
Right.
So I walked over to the playpen, and obviously nobody's there. And then I looked at the toy is off. So it's not even like
Oh,
the toy's on. And
yeah.
it kept like barking, because it's this dog thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And it kept barking, and I was like, okay, that's weird. And then I walked back in, to my office, and then it went off again. So, and he referenced in the meeting that like, I've been basically screaming at you that I'm here and you just won't listen to me. And I feel like that's one of the examples that he was giving.
Oh, in our reading, he was saying
Yes.
that about the toys. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, something that they can really do. They can touch electronics and things like that. I can't tell you how many toys, used to go off in my house at one time when my kids did have all those things that, were music stuff and
Yeah.
noisy and whatever. And,
I
but
know.
it's
And
like,
my husband even says too, like, it's always that specific toy. Like, she literally has 20 toys in her playpen, but that specific one, for some reason, when no one's touching it, it always goes off. So I feel like he's just always here, and it's made me feel more comforted than before I even knew. You know what I mean?
Right. And I remember actually, even after the reading, you had reached out to me. I think it was like a couple days later, and you said, I feel so different. I feel so much better than I have in a long time.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, now that's why he reached out and found you, because he needed
Yeah.
to make sure that you were actually living and not just living with anxiety and fear and really stressing yourself out and robbing you of your happiness with your child and your
Yep.
husband. And he knew that. And he said, nope, I'm going to find her and I'm going to help her to get back on track. And that's what I feel like he did.
100%. And I totally wasn't like, I sort of believed in holistic things, like, certain, scenarios and stuff, but like, I wasn't expecting this in a reading. I thought it was more about like, like what's going to happen in your future type of thing. I didn't know it was going to be like full on connecting with him, but
Yep.
I'm just so glad that I did it, because I feel more connected to him on a daily basis, and it's made my life so much just easier to go through, honestly, after, losing him.
I love that so much, because I feel like sometimes we do get lost in this world, and we can
Totally.
veer off our path and struggle and go through these things, but then they're always there to remind us that it's just as soon as we ask for help, because you asked the universe for help, you
Yep.
wanted to stop worrying, and he said, I'm on it. And he just
Yep.
orchestrated this entire thing. And
And in
it's
one of your podcasts, like, the reason I reached out to you, I guess we'll go back to that. The reason I reached out to you is because I was super compelled to reach out. Your messages that you were saying in your other podcast that you had previously recorded were like he was talking to me, because that's the way he used to speak. Like, he used to say, like, to like about like when you said, I think on one of your episodes, you were like, ask the universe and you shall receive. Like, he literally would say that on a daily basis to me. Every single time I talked to him, mostly, like, he'd be like, well, ask and you shall receive from the universe. Like, he'd always say that. And how like a random of a thing, because like people don't say that typically.
right.
Or like cancel, clear, and delete. He always used to tell me, like, cancel that thought. That's not going to happen. Cancel that thought. Like,
Wow.
and nobody says that. Just no normal, like, not normal person, but no,
It's all good.
Not many people say those things.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
really
like an
true.
everyday thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, not normalized, but like, it's not an everyday thing, I think is what I'm getting at.
That's
So I
true.
was so like, whoa, this is weird. And I made my husband listen to a podcast. I'm like, I don't know if I'm just like crazy or like I'm just thinking about my dad a lot. So I'm trying to relate it. But like, can you listen to this podcast and please tell me that you don't hear my dad talking? And my husband listened to it and he's like, yeah, I have goosebumps all over my body. He's like, that is like, I feel like I'm listening to your dad's podcast. And
Oh
I
my
was like, I
God.
know I need to write this girl an email. Like,
Oh my
this
God.
is
You never
weird.
told me
This is
this.
not,
That's
yeah, I'm
awesome.
like, this is weird. Like, just, I don't know.
It was like
It was
he's
just all
channeling
bizarre.
through me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he literally was.
I love that.
100%.
How cool
Yes.
is this, right? Like I just still have a hard time wrapping my head around all of it every time I
Crazy.
read, because I just sit back and I think, my goodness, they really can move mountains if we let them.
And
Right?
hear your thoughts too.
And hear your thoughts. Oh, 100%. They hear your thoughts. They know what you need. And you don't even have to say it out loud. It could be like an internal thought of,
No.
I need help. And they
During
go,
our
"Here you go."
reading, it happened during our, well, it wasn't the reading part. You started doing the energy healing part on me.
Yep.
And you were like, I'm sorry, I have to like, cause I think you were like doing something and then you stopped midway. And I was kind of thinking in my brain, I was like, well, I mean, this part I don't like believe in as much because I feel like you can't, I guess you can do it on a Zoom call, but like I just didn't feel as like, I don't know. I didn't feel as like connected to it, I guess.
Yep.
And you said, I think he said to you, and you stopped in the middle of it. You're like, I'm sorry, your dad like wants me to tell you that I know that you don't get any of this or something.
Oh
Like
my
said she's
gosh.
not getting any of this. And I was like literally thinking that in my head. I'm like, oh my God, he's listening to my thoughts. Like that's
He was.
crazy.
He really was.
Like she's just not getting any of this.
How
Okay.
did
Like
you know? Yeah.
I know. I thought that was so funny. But
Yeah,
he
'cause
said, like,
that
trust
is,
her, she's going to help you.
oh, and I'm so glad that he connected us because I feel like hearing that your life has actually changed and you are feeling really great these days, that really means a lot to me. I think that's really special, to hear that you're
Yeah.
turning things around and life is starting to get better. And I know you said to me by text in the last couple of weeks that there was something really cool that happened that you wanted to share with me today. So, what has been happening?
Yes. So I think I was at the end of our reading. I had told you that I've been having like a back issue. I have like a rheumatoid arthritic issue,
Mhm.
and I've just been experiencing a lot of pain. And I said, I hope my dad like finds somebody for me that's going to help me. And you're like, just put it out in the universe, someone's going to help you. And you also said, and we also said, like, I wish I could get a Reiki session from you, like in person, but
Mhm.
obviously, like, you're too far away. I want to find someone local, but I want to find the right person.
Uh-huh.
So I had written like a post a couple months ago on a mom's group that I'm on asking if anybody knew a holistic doctor, that I had a
Mhm.
back issue. And a girl wrote on it like a comment saying, have you tried acupuncture? And I went on to tell her I tried like 5 different people. Nobody helped me. It just doesn't help my issue. And then she said that this doctor she knew, this acupuncturist, had cured her husband's gout. And my dad used to have gout really bad.
Mhm.
And I never really put two and two together till after my reading because, like I said, I wrote this post like 3 months ago,
Uh-huh.
and I like had forgotten about it, but a light bulb went off like a week after my reading, and I was like, maybe I should just like look at that post again, and maybe like there's a doctor on there that I should go see.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, okay, I'll call the place. So the place is called Body and Soul Retreat, which is like a very
Of
holistic sounding place,
course it
right?
is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I call the place and the girl answers the phone, and I said, "Can I book an appointment with Dr. Chang, whatever." Set it up, the consultation, she told me how much it was, whatever. I slept on it. I woke up the morning after. I was like in a lot of pain, and I was like ready to go on like some, serious pharmaceutical drugs. And I'm like, I just
Oh.
don't even care anymore. I'm just, because I have to live my life. I can't be in pain anymore. I'm done. I'm going on this drug. It's whatever. So I
Uh-huh.
called the place and I was like, hey, I booked an appointment yesterday with Dr. Chang for tomorrow. I think it was Tuesday. So I had my appointment on Wednesday. I was like, I'd like to cancel. I honestly don't think it's going to work for me. I've tried lots of acupuncturists and it just doesn't seem to work. And the girl kept me on the phone and convinced me to go. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
well, this is bizarre because honestly, I've
Who does that?
probably booked, yeah, who does that, first of all? And like literally probably been to 25, 30 doctors over this issue. And no one has like, listened to my issue on the phone and then told me to come in. So then I show up on the Wednesday to this place. The girl at the front desk is the same girl that talked me into coming. She
Yep.
sets me up in this room, and the room, I took off my mask and it's like smells exactly like my dad's old apartment.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, this is
Okay,
such
this
a
is
specific
weird.
smell. Like, why is this smell like this? Like, and I'm sitting alone in this room. Then the girl comes back in and she's just like, oh my gosh, I feel like you should be here. I want to give you a hug. And I was like, I'm feeling
Ooh.
like all types of way about this. Like, my dad has for sure brought me here. Like, I have no
Oh.
question about it. I feel like this guy's going to help me. So I go through with my consultation, only
Mhm.
doctor that's literally sat down and like really tried to learn my issue. And
Uh-huh.
like, I 100% think that my dad placed him in my path to like help me. And now I'm like, I think I've been going there for a month and I feel like amazing. Like he's helped me in so many ways. He's helped like decrease my stress. He's
Wow.
helped with my back. Like he's just the most amazing person. And I had gone to many acupuncturists before that never ever took that approach.
Uh-huh. That
So
was for sure your
yeah.
dad.
And they have Reiki
Wow.
masters there. And I'm scheduled to go for a Reiki session
Oh, you're gonna
in
love
2 weeks.
it. You're gonna love
So
it.
there's this one girl that does it there, and she's like, the girl Renee that basically convinced me to come in. She's like, you'll love her. Like she's great.
Mhm.
So I'm very excited.
I love how he put you in that place because you did ask for help from him. You
Yep.
said, you know, before you met me, hey, I'm in pain. I don't feel good. I'm having all these, you know, other issues with anxiety and stuff. I just need the help. And he
Yep.
said, here you go, Rachel. Let's put you with this girl,
This
this
person.
person,
Yep.
and you're going to start living. And
Yep.
I love hearing that. That's just one of the most beautiful gifts you could get from your dad. I love it.
Amazing. Yeah.
I
And it's
love it.
crazy too, because that place is literally 5 minutes from my house. I probably drive by it like at least once a day for the
Oh
past,
my
I don't know,
gosh.
3, 4 years. And I've never gone in there. And actually my best friend,
Wild.
she has a membership there, but I just like, I never was compelled to like go in there. I don't know, even though I've driven by it a billion times.
Yep.
It's just crazy how everything, works
Comes.
itself out.
It's amazing how they time everything and they orchestrate all of it from the other side.
Totally.
And then
Totally
it's
do.
like, oh my goodness, how did I not even think of trying that? And it was just
Yep.
divine timing, everything happening just as it should. And I
Yep.
think after the fact, after our reading, and obviously we've been in touch a few times, and I did end up adding you on social media. We added each other, and it was
Yes.
kind of neat to see some of his photos and stuff on there. And I thought, this is just special. I think
Yes.
we were
It's
supposed
awesome.
to meet, and we have way too much in common. I mean, it's kind of crazy just when you look at it, right? How we're so far apart. And especially for me, I've been in Alberta for 13 years. And
Yep.
it's just to say that not only were you from the same small town, the other town, or I guess it's a city now, is Barrie. That's where he was living as well. And I'm thinking, but that's where we moved to from that small town. We
And
moved to Barrie next.
that's where my mom and my dad basically were married and stuff, and then they had me and then they lived somewhere else. But it's just crazy that like, and my mom just lives outside of Barrie in Thornton,
Yep, which I know that
Ontario. Yeah,
very
right
well.
now.
It's
I know
so
your best friend
wild.
lives there, right?
She used to. She used
Oh,
to.
she used
Yep,
to,
she
yeah.
used
And
to. And
that's a
I
small town.
it's
Like
so small. So what are
literally
the
it's like
chances?
a little street and like a corner store and then houses. That's pretty much
It's
it. And
it's
like a dirt road.
beautiful and it's so beautiful out there. But I drove
It
like through
is.
that area on my way home from work every day when we lived up north. So it's just when I look at all of these if you want to call them coincidences, is nothing is ever a coincidence. But
Yep.
when you piece it all together, it's like this amazing puzzle that just is meant to come together. And I think your dad, first of all, pushed me to do the reading that day because he knew this was going to happen. Not just
Right.
that I was going to have you as a client and say, okay, that was nice meeting you and never see you again or talk to you again. He knew that somehow we would end up continuously connecting. And
Mhm.
that's why I think he pushed me that day and gave me the strength. And
Totally.
I'm so grateful to him. And it does, this might sound a little crazy to you, and I don't think I even told you this, but the next day when I flew out, when I was on the plane, I was having a very difficult time. And
Yeah.
I actually started to see him around me.
Oh
And
my
I
God,
thought,
stop.
yeah, because I knew that he knew how it was so difficult for you. And I know that, and I'm getting goosebumps even talking about this, but I believe that he knew I was going to have a very difficult time saying goodbye to my dad. And
Yeah.
I
The
remember
hardest thing
just
you'll ever have to
seeing him.
do in your entire life.
And I really believe he was there with me to
Yeah.
support me because he knew how difficult it was for you, and I had just spent that time with you, and I think he really did appreciate it, and I thought, "Wow, that's a really amazing
That's
dad that
amazing. I
you
love
have."
that.
I do too. I do
He was an
too.
amazing person for sure.
I'm just so glad that we connected. And I'm so glad that we're sharing this today because I think not just to say, or not just cool stories about validation, but also about how wonderful it is that they really can do anything from the other side. And we
Yeah,
think that it's all in our hands, and it's not. None of it is. It's all divinely timed. And I just think it's incredible.
it totally is. It's amazing. I love it.
So I want to leave you all with this today. We can sometimes think that things happen purely by coincidence, but there really is no such thing. Everything and everyone we meet is for a reason. Past loved ones can truly go out of their way to connect you to a medium when they feel that you're ready to hear from them. They choose who they feel is best to deliver their messages, and that is an amazing thing. When you ask the universe for help, your request will always be answered. All you have to do is just be willing to listen. Thank you all so much for joining us today on the Divine Messages podcast. And thank you, Rachel, for being here with me today and sharing your story with everyone.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Please bear in mind that the perspectives and opinions represented in this podcast are based solely on the Divine Messages interpretation. We can in no way be held responsible for the actions of our followers.